So Gilbert Young, I'm changing course here for a moment because in studio is a good friend of mine, and I'm reading this bio. So you're celebrating your 50th year as an artist.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating the Civil Rights Act. So you started you started the same year the Civil Rights Act was.
Virtually, yeah. But
Yeah.
I was 18 years old, and when things began to happen, most exciting times, the assassination of Kennedy, the assassination of King and Medgar Evers, and all those people that were our current heroes, and I lived through that and saw all of that. But I was drawing even before then, and by that time I had gotten a job as a restoration artist, and at a very young age.
Now I don't know how we do this, but let me introduce people to Gilbert Young, and anyone who's listened to this show will remember. We both were raising holy hell.
Yes.
About the King Memorial.
Yes.
I get this call. My name is Gilbert Young. Now, I don't know the name. We've never met.
Right.
And he said, you might remember me. I'm the artist that created He Ain't Heavy. Now, if you go to my website or you go Facebook, maybe we can isolate it. I've got a copy.
Right here in the
studio. You didn't know I had it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was a pleasant surprise.
Easy for you. Maybe just take it off the wall, Sherry. Why don't we do that? You can just lift it off the wall. Okay. Yeah, just lift it up. There you go. There you go.
All right.
And give it right. Show it. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
This is the small version of it.
That's the small. I got a large version at home.
Right. And and we've been very fortunate. And
now, when was that created?
Oh God, it's 34 years ago.
34 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get back to the story about the artist, but then you meet the president, and it's pretty much the same thing.
Yes. He recognized the piece. Yes, being from Chicago, and Chicago was a area where we sold a lot of He Ain't Heavies, and especially in the inner cities, and especially in the big cities where a lot of us was populated. So when I met him and shook hands with him and gave him my card, he said, "Did you do this?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, you're a legend. You're famous."
You're famous. That's exactly what I said. I mean, I said the same thing when he called. I said, "Oh, I can't believe I'm getting a call from." I mean, this is a famous, and it's so. But the real discussion was the outrage that I shared with you.
Yes.
And most people didn't know. Most folks had no idea. Now, this show, we did a lot of shows about this, trying to get the King Commission to wait a minute. And I remember I still have a piece of what they call Eagle Rock.
Yes,
because the quarry, even the stone came
right from China.
From China. The artist came from China.
The artist came from China. It was made in China, built in China.
The memorial.
The whole memorial, and shipped over here in 100 different pieces. And then they brought the Chinese over here to assimilate it.
To assemble it.
Yes. And so, the whole thing was a tragedy as far as I'm concerned. And because they took away our ability to interpret a hero of our descent and gave it to someone else, outside our culture.
And the artist who actually did the memorial, he didn't even know the history of King.
No, he didn't know the history of King. He didn't speak our language. It was total disaster.
And let me explain to people how would this artist not know the history? Because Mao had disdain for King.
That's right.
Because Mao was a communist, King was a Baptist minister, and Mao was an atheist.
Yes.
In essence, and thought and said that Martin Luther King was nothing but a lapdog.
Exactly. American
lapdog because of his religious connection.
And
so they never taught the philosophy
of Dr. King.
In China, and the artist who grew up during the same time we knew nothing of King.
Right. So and now we have this this stone. I like to call it a stone.
You still haven't accepted it.
No, I will not ever.
Have you visited?
No, I haven't visited yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've seen pictures of it. But the whole thing to me was such a tragedy to our culture and to our history, because then no other people will allow that to happen to them, not to be able to interpret their own selves and their own leaders, and give that opportunity to someone else other than themselves.
Yeah. But the reason you're in Washington now. Is a couple of, at least one drawing, and we get a chance to sort of see it before the First Lady gets to see it.
So we're going to see.
We're going to see it before the First Lady. Well, I this is radio. What can I say? Only thing I can tell you guys is we'll put it on our Facebook. How's that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get it on our Facebook. So you said raise it a little higher. Okay, there you go. How's that? All right. So this is going to be presented today
at 12 o'clock.
At 12 noon at a congressional luncheon?
Yes.
And how did you come about this?
Well, Congressman David Scott's wife called me and said, how's your schedule? And that was about a month ago. And I said, it's open. What can I do for you? And she told me of this great opportunity that they were going to honor the First Lady, and they would like for me to do the portrait.
At a luncheon today.
And so I of course, I said yes, and I would be honored. And so they're going to present this painting, which is 4 feet by 30 inches high.
Now, what is this?
This is a small print.
Oh, this is a print of
this
it.
Is
I was going to say the other one has already been it's been framed
and everything.
Okay.
And it's like 60 inches long.
Wow.
In the frame.
Wow. That is, so what's the thought behind this?
Well,
you're the artist.
It's a Let's Move campaign. So I had to put in wanted to put in activity around her.
I see.
And I wanted to make it happy and uplifting. And so I have people playing basketball, football, kids playing soccer, a little girl with the hula hoop, an older couple dancing, a young girl skipping rope, and then we have the White House in the background, because I wanted to make sure that it was coming from the White House to our house. So,
all right, I got you.
So there's a lot of elements in there.
What is the other? Now this one is one.
This is the one.
What's the story behind that? Let me hear. I'll pull it over here. What's the story behind? Now I have I'm holding up another art. This is of President Obama.
Yes, and that was when I met him, and that was a painting that I did of him when we both were in Cincinnati at the same time.
Okay.
And that day I presented that piece to him, and that's when he recognized me as an artist.
And
he signed it.
And he signed this one.
He signed the painting itself.
So this is a print.
This is a
13 of 1500.
Right.
And so are these, and here's what people will ask, are these like available in art stores?
No, well, they're available on my line.
Online. They have to go online.
And also available on my website for sale. And so, but this one is a special one because it belongs to you. This is
a
gift.
No.
Yeah, this is my gift. I've been waiting to get to you.
Oh, wow.
And I kept telling myself.
And he signed it. And this one has Obama's signature on it?
Yes. Well, it has.
Well, you know what? We have to find a place. Maybe I'll replace it with the Norman Rockwell. You know, you never thought you'd be replaced with the Norman Rockwell, did you?
I'm in high cotton now.
You're in high cotton now. I said that to Ed Schultz after the cotton comment by Bundy. I said, but I told him, I said, and Ed kind of went, oh, wait a minute now, here we go with the cotton reference. I said, Ed, don't get excited. We own the cotton field. We own the cotton field. Right. Wow, thank you so
You're
much.
Welcome, Joe.
Oh,
man,
thank you. This is, I mean, we got to find a frame for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I can, I'll take it today and get it framed. Thank you. Oh, now I really, because, you know, one of the things I always liked doing, and I really learned this, Gilbert Young, from Bill Cosby's show.
Right.
You know, and he was so smart when he did his popular show.
Yes.
If you looked in the background, he always had artists.
Full of art.
Full of art.
And that helped motivate black artists' lifestyle to unbelievable heights at that period of time. That's when we were we came out of the woodworks, and because of the exposure, it's all about the exposure.
It really is.
And you know, Ernie Barnes.
Barnes, he used to play football.
Right.
And
Good Times.
Good Times, and that was right.
Sugar Shack.
Sugar Shack. And it was the cover album for Motown, I think.
Right. And it turned into an art print.
Right.
Because people were buying the album just to get the
artwork.
Cover.
Right.
And then so you have people like him, God rest his soul, and he's no longer with us, but one of our great black American artists who created a lot of movement. If you look at the picture I just did with
for the first lady,
one of the figures in here, I used the Ernie Barnes figure of the runner that he's famous for. So you know, we tapped in and we utilize. I utilize my history and some of the people before me. I'm a descendant of Charles White, who was a great American artist.
Yeah, we talk about him often in our history.
And we had so many that was before me and so many coming after us. And we have to nurture these people and help them make a living. We really had a great renaissance in the last 20 years, which is, I believe, is over now. The bubble has burst, and one of the things that we have to do is go back and try to get people to understand that the image of them has to be created by the people who are themselves.
Right. And I mean, but this is what art is about. I mean, you know, when you think of the great artists, Michelangelo, you think of the Sistine Chapel.
Yes.
I mean, that whole story. We look at it, and I don't think we really think when we see these stories that's he painted in the image of the folk who are around him.
Right.
Matter of fact, they argue. The rumor is that the image of some of the angels were some of his art students.
Yeah.
That he used.
Well, what else would you use?
Whatever.
I use the same thing. Everyone use what they know, and they relate to their community. And so when you come up with a concept of saying, "Oh, Gilbert, draw me this or draw me that," then I always go back to what I know best, and what I know best is my community. What I see every day, what I admire every day, is my people.
Which goes back to this discussion we had and this movement we tried to create, and I think we made our point about the King Memorial.
Yes,
because what you're saying right now was the argument we said. Look, this memorial needs to be done, and it wasn't about just black artists. I mean, we were talking about you could, and I really liked the suggestion you had at the time, you could bring together an interracial group of artists.
And here's the thing. One, we could have had a visual artist, which create the image itself.
Right.
Then two, I was working with Clint Buttons, who was a sculptor who represented the whole sculpting community of people who sculpt out of stone. And so that would have been a great story.
And Ed Dwight.
Ed Dwight.
I mean, he got in on this one.
Right.
Yeah. And he was actually used. I mean, he had to go to China to help the guy
Well, they didn't let him go to China. They stopped him at the border, kind of situation. But because they knew they were going to do something else. But the whole thing is that this was an American story. It should have stayed in America.
And the argument was, well, he was global. He was universal. After his death,
he was global.
He was global.
And he was loved after his death. But if you and I remember what names were called, what kind of action that was done to him because of he had spoken up.
Yeah, it wasn't until he was martyred that he
then all of a sudden he fought for all of us. And I remember one woman said, "Well, he fought for all of us." I said, "I'm sorry, I don't remember that." I said, "I thought he fought for black people's freedom and rights here in the United States. You had yours, and we didn't have totally ours."
And then it was his latter years that Vietnam and he became a human rights activist. But it goes back. It was just ironic that a Chinese sculptor who really knew nothing about King, who knew very little about the civil rights movement, had to be told about it. And like you said, the stone, I think, and I never will forget this, the stone could have been taken from the quarry in Georgia.
Quarries had offered free the stone because they wanted to be part of the history. And these people chose not to.
Yeah. Big mistake, but we put up a good fight. And I'm first of all, I'm honored that you came by, and your wife is with you.
Yes, and my son is with me.
Your son, how old is your son?
My youngest son is 17.
He's with you today. This is an opportunity, and you'll get a chance to present this to the First Lady. Well, do us a favor. Tell her we said hello and that you were here on the show, and that. And I tell her you unveiled it on the Madison show. She'll get a treat. She's a big fan of the show. She really is, and a beautiful person. I know she's going to be thrilled to see that.
I hope so. Really.
Oh no, I can tell you this. She is going to be absolutely thrilled to see it. So let me thank you so much, and again for people. He Ain't Heavy. Where's the He Ain't Heavy? Did we put it back?
Yeah, we put it back on the wall.
Oh, we put it back on the wall.
There you go.
That's it, man. That I'm going to tell you something. There wasn't a household or a black dormitory room that didn't have that in it. And so when I got that call from Gilbert Young, man, I'm telling you, it's like Jesus called.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for being with us.
All right.